Welcome to 10 Intentional Minutes with Janine. Let's dive into intentional living right now. Welcome to another session of 10 Intentional Minutes with Janine. Today we are wrapping up our series with Christo, Leadership, Lies, Loss, and Legends. What was supposed to be a one-session discussion turned out to be an entire series. And I must say, it's been some of the favorite podcasts that we've done if I look at the rankings and the views and the downloads. So this is definitely a subject and something that is close to the hearts of many people, at least to our listeners and the people listening and following this podcast. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining, for tuning in and joining us. If this resonates with you, please keep on listening and share to somebody that you also think might find this content valuable. So, Christo, welcome again to 10 Intentional Minutes. I'm looking forward to wrapping up this series on leadership, lies, loss, and legends.
Thank you, Dr. Janine. It's always good to be here. I think it sounds and feels good when we say that we started this series last year. But yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed our time together. I hope the listeners has maybe learned something new, maybe just refocusing some of the things that you already are aware of. And today, yeah, let's wrap it up and let's see how that pans out. It might be a two-part. You never know.
I agree. So, in your mind, what stood out most for you about leadership throughout this series? Let's start there.
I'll probably go back to Simon Sinek's quote, leadership is not about being in charge, but about taking care of those within your charge. Leadership is about the people around you. It definitely is about the people around you and how you can best serve them, how you can best lead them, how you can best, harness the potential that's within your team. And so, yeah, if I look at, the highlights for me, it's definitely about recognizing the people that you are working with and how do you get the best out of them? Because there's potential within every single person, not just potential, but there's a capacity that lies almost dormant within your team. And if you can, be aware of them and be aware of how you play a part in getting that out of them, that is what leadership is all about for me. And so yeah, definitely the team that you have around you. I think John Maxwell said if you're taking a walk and nobody, or if you're leading and nobody is following you, you're simply taking a walk. And so we can't call ourselves leaders, or we can't speak about leadership unless there are people following us. So that was definitely my takeaway. And for you, what would you say stood out on your side with the leadership?
With that quote on John Maxwell is probably one of my favorite quotes of all time for him. Like, if you're leading and no one's following, you're simply taking a walk. And it's the truth, because many leaders are just taking a walk. They think they are leading, but they're just taking a walk. I think for me, leadership will come down to intentionality as always. But for this reason is that you should be very on purpose on the point of leading yourself and leading others. And I think I'm going to say something today that's a bit against the grain, but I thought about this a lot over the last couple of weeks since our last conversation. But the pressure is always on the leader. The leader must grow. The leader must do this. The leader must grow in this capacity and that character and that personality traits. And I thought to myself, it's true. But if you are a born leader or a leader that is interested in leading others, growing others, you will really automatically do those things. It's almost part of your DNA. And then I thought
Yeah,
to myself, you know what? It comes down to the people that is actually following you a lot of the times. It can't just always depend on the leader, that the leader must do all these things. It also comes down to the followers. And if you, as the follower, are not following with intention, what that means that that leader is going to lead someone else.
yeah,
Because if you're not keeping up to what that leader is growing, then you're going to fall behind. So it's so easy to put the pressure on the leader and say, you must do this and you must do this and grow here and grow there. But it counts just as much for the followers. Because if you're not going to keep up, your leader is simply going to lead somebody else because it's in his or her DNA to
Right.
lead,
Yeah.
to grow people. So it was just something I thought, let me put that in because you know what? It's not always just about the leader, it's also about the followers. Is you need to make sure that the leader that you are following is you are keeping up, you are growing yourself, you are developing yourself. It comes down to, I said in the podcast as well, we need to develop our self-efficacy, our self-improvement, and we have to get to know who we are as a person so that we also follow the right people. Like-minded people is how we frame that. And then it made me think about something that I speak often about is your emotional quotient. We have to develop our emotional quotient as leaders, but also as followers. And that's what's nice about today's discussion is I'm not simply singling out a leader, but also the followers. You have to develop your emotional quotient. 75% of careers are derailed because of emotional incompetencies. That is a big number.
That is.
75% of
Wow.
careers are derailed because of emotional incompetencies. That is your inability to handle interpersonal problems, conflict, unsatisfactory team leadership, when it's difficult, when it's your inability to adapt to change, because it's difficult to adapt to change. Again, what I like about the point that I just made, it's not just the leader's inability to change, but it's also the followers' inability to change. So just as much as it's the leader's responsibility to develop their emotional quotient, it's also the follower's responsibility to develop the emotional quotient of you as a person itself. And then maybe lastly that I can say is we touched on two things while we were also talking about this in the series was the word empathy and the word sympathy. And it's also one of Simon Sinek's famous saying that he believes that empathy is the first criteria for a good leader. And it made me think, but what is empathy then? And if we are leading with emotional quotient and it's high, then empathy and sympathy will be part of the things that we look at. So empathy for me is the ability to see something through someone else's eyes or another person's eyes so that I can respond appropriately. Where sympathy, it feels pity. That's how I see it. Sympathy is when we feel pity. And then empathy is the ability to see something through someone else's eye. And when we're looking at leadership, we should be able to lead with empathy, but also lead with sympathy. The only way we can do that is to increase our emotional quotient. And that's the thing that we can focus on both leaders as well as followers.
Yeah, it's really a yeah, shocking, crazy stat that to think about it, it's not people's skills, it's
Yeah.
not people's commitment, it's not their consistency, it's not their ability to show up at work, it's not how
Yeah.
much effort they put in, it's not how much time they put in. It comes down to that emotional intelligence that and I mean emotional intelligence really, I don't want to get soft here, but it's, just getting in touch with with yourself and who you
It's
are as a
true.
person and how you are growing. How many people are spending, actual time and focus on growing and developing that? We want to hone our craft and, we focus on that, very, very strongly. And like, listen, we need to. I mean, I want my pilot that is flying a plane, to be well able. But if you're saying 75% of careers are being derailed, then it's maybe something that we should look at, and for me, it also comes down to, so how you handle setbacks, how you handle, challenges. We live in a society, and I heard something even over the weekend that really just shocked me to think where we are as a society where it's almost an inability to handle opposition.
Mm.
People just,
Mm.
complain, throw their, like, let's use the example of throwing your toys out of the cot, um, when things don't go your way.
Mm.
And, it's almost like a pandemic, where people have an inability to deal with life.
Mm.
Some of these things just happen. And so, yeah, definitely, I'm taking note of that. to ensure that I'm working also on growing in those areas within your life and not just focusing on the skill, you know,
Mm,
having empathy and these things and caring for people, having compassion, that's actually a lost skill that we can
mm.
work on.
And think about it, as a leader, you need two things to make good decisions. You need trust, the trust of your followers, and you need perspective in order to make good decisions. And when you've got empathy and you've got sympathy, it gives you a different perspective about the
Yeah.
people you are leading and the ones that are following you. And that will create trust. A part of leadership, and I've said that, is grit for me. You have to develop grit, and that's what you're
Mm.
saying also now, is the grit to make tough decisions, to go through tough, difficult times and tough times. And the grit stands for that: growth, resilience, intentionality, and transformation. That's actually the process that takes place when we are going through tough times. We develop grit through tough times, not through the easy times. And we have to develop that skill in order to be able to move through those times. And we must be realistic that in the times we live in, um, not great things happen more often these days, and we need to be able to manage through that and work through that. And I think it's not that it didn't happen in the past. Somebody close to me said something the other day, and it really hit me, and I realized that is the reason why it maybe feels that there is more things happening now than in the past. In the past, you didn't have a WhatsApp, or you didn't open your phone and get a WhatsApp message to say that that person has passed away, that person is in hospital, that happened here or there. Even with your work things, communication took a little bit longer to get to us. Now everything is instant. So
Yeah.
sometimes you didn't even know about something that happened just because it wasn't communicated to you. In the times we live in, communication is like this. So we speak about data overload and information overload. We have the same things in our personal lives, and when it comes to the things that's happening around us. So I don't think it's happening more. Actually, I just think we get to know of things much faster. Therefore, we have to deal with a lot more things now than what we had to deal with in the past, because we are aware of it.
So with this information overload, this data overload, how do you think a leader can really make an impact within his team and the members within his team? Just thinking about the following, is, personally, I take about 12 to 15,000 photos a year on my phone. Um, and if I look back on the photos I have, from my childhood, there's maybe 10, in 20 years. But those 10 photos, I can take you back to what happened. I can take you back to the emotion. It was almost like it was a highlight, in your life. When now everything seems like it's an event and everything seems like, it's so important. And then it almost takes away the authenticity. It takes away the rareness of that moment. And so giving that a bit of a framework, with the photos, how do you think, coming back to the question, how do you think a leader can really make an impact in the life of the people that is leading in the midst of all of these, plethora of information and data that's coming their way?
I think the first question I would ask the leader is, what do you stand for? What do you really stand for? Because, and I think you said that many years ago, is whatever you stand for, that's you can help me right with the quote, is that's what you will fall for. But for me, is the reason I ask, what do you stand for, is people follow like-minded people. So the thing that you stand for and the thing that you speak about is what other people need or your followers need. So take intentionality as an example. People who are intentional, leader focused, growth focused, development focused, are naturally the people that follow me, because they know within that conversation, within what I stand for, you're going to grow, you're going to develop resilience, intentionality, you're going to get stuff done, you're going to not have something called procrastination, and you're going to transform in the process. So
Yeah.
I think the thing is, what do you stand for? If you're going to be speaking about a whole range of other things, then that communication is going to get lost. But if you are clear on who you are, what you stand for, what you speak about, what your purpose is, I think that you're going to attract the right kind of people. And when you then speak into their lives, that's where the transformation is going to come. If I think about yourself with Expand, I listen to you because I want to expand in every area of my life. And that's exactly what you do. So you are clear about who you are, what you are about. And I understand through your message what it is you give. So I resonate with that and be like, I need to be part of that.
Yeah, that's true. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
That's it.
And
That's
so,
exactly it.
just bringing that clarity back, on what it is. Because I think in this day and age, leaders or new leaders or potential leaders, they might feel overwhelmed because I have to do like 400 things, just to lead my team. And yes, if you maybe break it down to every single act or every single aspect, it might be a lot of things. Like, I mean, how many thoughts do we have in a day? And however, it comes down to those one or two crucial moments that will make a big difference in the life of somebody. And I like what you say is just to know, what you stand for, make it clear. And people will follow you for that one thing. People don't follow you for 75 things. They follow you for that one thing. And so I think in this day and age, with everything going on, just make it simple. Keep it
Mm.
simple, make it simple, and you will see. Don't be simple. Just make it simple, and you will see how people will gravitate towards you. With that said, what do you think are some of the lies, or what are the things that stood out for you when we spoke this session on, lies that maybe leaders tell themselves?
Often leaders tell themselves that I'm not good enough. I don't have enough resources I must have all the answers. And that leads to isolation and burnout. And to go back to what you just said, is one of the things about the goals is when you set those goals. I speak about the 4 P's of goal setting and how I want to bring the two together. Because if you believe you are the person with all the answers, if you believe that, um, if you're the one that believes I don't have the resources and I'm not good enough and everything depends on you as a person, it will only lead to isolation and burnout. There's no other way. And that's a lie that you tell yourself. And you just said is the goals that we set ourselves in order to get to these places can it's not all the little things, but it's one or two of the bigger things. And it reminds me of the 4 P's of goal setting that I always speak about is your goals. There's only four. They have to be positive. So it can't be telling yourself that I do not have the resources, can't be telling yourself that I must have all the answers, that your goals needs to be positive. They need to be personal. In other words, it's not your friend's goal, it's your own thing. Why are you aiming for success? Why are you going after that goal? It needs to be personal to you. It needs to be something that resonates with you. And then automatically other people will follow because now it's authentic, it's real. So it needs to be positive, it needs to be personal, your goal, it needs to be possible. First of all, really, some people set goals and it's really just impossible to reach it. Now you do not have the resources and you feel totally out of depth. So that's part of the lies that leaders tell themselves, is because the goals that they set, first of all, wasn't even possible to start with. And then they have to be prioritized. You have most people already have more goals in place than what they can handle. So you need to prioritize your goals in order to get them done. And then you're also going to feel that I am good enough. I have enough resources. And you know what? I don't have to have all the answers. It's not just about me, but it's about a collaboration of the team and the group of like minded people that I surround myself with. There's lots of wisdom around you. And sometimes we focus just on ourselves instead of the other people. And if we reframe these beliefs, we focus on progress and not on perfection, it will also help us to come out of that trap and that lie that leaders needs to be perfect and definitely know all the answer.
Yeah.
But what is it for you?
Yeah, I would probably say that, nobody knows what I'm going through, and no one else is going through what I'm going through. Therefore,
Yes.
I need to keep it, to myself, and I must go through it on my own. For me, transparency is probably and not being transparent is a lie that we tell ourselves. I'm not saying that your life needs to be, open and in the tabloids, for everybody to see and to read. There's definitely a sense and an aspect of privacy and, things that you're going through on your own, struggles. But dealing with those or sharing those struggles, I believe is important. The flip side of it, people either go through, they suffer in silence, or, they tell everybody about what they're going through, and then it becomes even a greater challenge because, now, it becomes insurmountable. But transparency or the lack of transparency, within leaders, is definitely a lie that we tell ourselves. I think a lot of people, or I know a lot of people are going through what we are going through. Leadership is not unique. The challenges we're facing is not unique. Yes, the aspect and the area, the industry might be different. However, everybody faces similar challenges. Leaders go through the stages of doubt. Leaders are going through the stages of impossibilities. It's not just you or me. There are a lot more people that are going through those challenges. And if we can share what we are going through with people, I believe we'll be able to lead a lot better. Uh, I'm of the I'm of the conviction that when you share with your people, what you are going through, it just builds a lot more trust. Because here's the thing is that the people that you are leading are probably going through the same thing that you are going through. Maybe not at the same level that you are facing. The saying, the what's it, the highest tree gets the most wind. And so yes, fair enough. There's more challenges for a leader or a higher dimension, but it definitely filters down, to your team. If you're going through financial struggles and challenges, the chances are that the people you are leading are going through something similar. Being transparent about it and speaking about it would at least give people hope that, like, I'm not on my own. There are more people going through this. So yeah, I would just encourage, having open conversations with your team and with the people that you are following, or the people that are following you. And maybe find, we say this a lot with persons with altitude, find your tribe. And it's
Mm,
find the leaders that you can work with that are going through that has similar group setting as what you have, that you can at least then be transparent towards those leaders. If you don't feel that you can be transparent with your team, you have to find those people that you can be transparent with, that can grow you, that can build you, that can hold you accountable.
mm. Definitely. What a powerful point. What you are facing is not unique. And that's so true because we're all thinking we're going through these things alone. Brene Brown speaks about vulnerability, and I like the way that she says that is vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And the reason I say that is that connects for me with that transparency. When you're saying to your team, this is what I'm going through, these are the challenges I'm having, and also, this is the plan I have to overcome them. This is where I need your support, is to be vulnerable, to be transparent. Then that could be the birthplace of innovation. That could be where now these brilliant minds are coming together and you are creating new things, better things, greater things together as a team. And 100% what you said, it's absolutely going to build trust within your team. So the next question I have for you is then, if we move over to loss, is what have we learned about navigating loss? What have you learned with navigating loss in leadership as well as in life?
Yeah, your setbacks are probably stepping stones for a comeback or for moving
Mm,
forward. It's what we
love
learn,
that.
or it's how we deal, or how quick we can respond to the loss, to the setback.
Mm,
A lot of people think it's final. It it's not final. There's
yeah.
always there's this article about this chess player that thought he was in checkmate, but I think the caption said the king has got one more move. And so, whenever we go through a setback or through loss, there's always a way out. There's always something that we can do. And it's to find that hidden gem in the rubble. It's to find, the way out in the midst of a maze that that will help you. And so I would just encourage people, doesn't matter what you are going through, and I'm not being not empathetic about, people's challenges. I mean, loss is real, absolutely. It's real. It's challenging. It's emotional. It's almost you know, it can almost knock you down completely. Absolutely. I'm completely aware of the reality of loss. But in that reality, there's also a reality that you can overcome. There are other people that have gone through something similar. And so, yeah, it might not be unique. It might be unique to you, but it's not unique in the world. Other people have gone through that. And so it's just to maybe apply some self-awareness within your life and say, okay, how big is this loss? How big is this impact? I'll probably equate it to sport again, is that if you have an injury, there's multiple injuries that you can get. You can get just a sprain, you can break something, you can tear something. There's something in sport that they call, a career-ending injury. And so fair enough, it might be some of those things, but there's still life after sport. There's still life after that injury. There's still life after that loss. And so if that can be a mindset that we can work on and build on, is to say there is life after whatever it is you're going through. It's to move on. I've seen many people in life, and I mean even in our own life, we've had the loss of family. And at that point in that time, it feels like your life is over. Many people, I'm sure, if you go speak to people that have lost spouses or that have lost kids or that has lost parents, at that point in time, it felt like life was over. Speak to them a year, 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years down the line, they've moved on. Yes, the memory is still there. There might still be areas of hurt, but they've moved on. Life goes on. The people that couldn't move on from that, they live in a hole because they never could move on. And listen, I know it's tough, and I don't want to seem like I'm not compassionate. Life goes on. We have to move on. How, when, where, those things are debatable, but we
Mm.
have to move on from loss.
There's life after loss. That is so powerful. I like how you say that. And the way that I always say it, that loss is inevitable, but it's also a
Yeah,
teacher. So when we go through tough times in life, I choose to see what I can learn from this. And that is normally how I conquer it and how I get through loss. I don't get over loss, I get through loss because I don't want to go around this mountain again. I want to finish this and get through this. And my son and I had a couple of conversations about loss through sport as well in the last couple of weeks. And um, I remember we walked away from the athletic, from the sand pit, and he said to me, "I'm so tired of silver and bronze." And I thought to myself, goodness me, that is ungrateful. You know, that was the first thought that came to my mind. And I thought, okay, but he's reaching for higher. Well done. But I promise you, that was not my first thought. I was like, you're being very ungrateful right now. And then he said to me, I said to him, this is also for fun. This is for this. And it's not always about winning. And he's like, but if I'm not winning, I'm not having fun. And I realized, okay, I have to change his perception, maybe, or mine, about winning and losing. And I explained it to him like this. I held my hand like this, and he was literally holding the awards and the medallion in his hand. And I said to him, put it in my hand. And he looked at me and I said, okay, pretend you have another one. Put it in my hand. And I said to him, well, if I'm holding this here, this bucky that I'm holding here, this little bowl is not yet full. And I said to him, put another medallion in. It's like, is it bronze or is it silver or what is it? I said, it's whatever you want it to be. And I was holding it like that. And at some point, I dropped my hand and I pretended that it was really heavy. And I opened it and I said to him, oh, wow, look at that. A gold just dropped. And I said to him, can you see what happens? It's not always about the silver and it's not always about the bronze. It's about the accumulation of wins that you have
yeah,
that creates the gold. So when you're going through tough times, is what are you accumulating in your bowl? Are you accumulating wins or are you accumulating losses? Because what you're accumulating is what you're going to have at the end. And if you're going to accumulate wins, then yes, you're going to get to the gold. But if you're going to accumulate losses, then I'm afraid at the end of the day, what you're going to find in overload in your little bowl is loss. So it's very important to determine when you're going through difficult times, what am I accumulating? What experiences am I collecting? Because it does build resilience. Every single experience that you go through builds resilience. And resilience is built through taking intentional actions and celebrating those small wins and finding strength in gratitude. I still have to teach him that. We still have to be thankful for the silver and the bronze because it builds intentional action. You still have to have gratitude, but we have to take time to celebrate the small wins, even when it feels like we are losing.
Yeah, I'm not the best example when it comes to to sport and not winning. That's something that I struggle I struggle with. I'm just thinking about Ethan and like yeah, I can definitely share his sentiment. I'm not about bronze and silver. We have to win. And I suppose it yeah, just it brings back perspective, you know. It's like what is it all about? You know, we're looking for the small wins where we want the gold in this, but you know, in the long run, you know, you then win the big prize. I remember my youngest brother. He was quite good at athletics, and at the SA Championship, he had the unfortunate incident where a bee stung him like 20 minutes before his race, and he came last in the hurdles. Um, and my parents was looking at it like, oh, he came last, and then the coach said, listen, he came sixth in South Africa. Yes, it was lost, but it was at the SA Championships. He came sixth. But then she said something powerful. She says, we're not training to win because it was the primary school championship. We're training for high school. We're training for university. We want a bursary and a scholarship after school. And when she said that, I was like, wow, you look at the perspective, you know. I'm not saying don't become an SA champ at primary school. I'm not saying that at all. You know, but it just, you know, in the midst of loss, you can still find perspective and realize like yes, in this moment it feels like everything, but if you just zoom out, you know, in the context of your life, it's not gonna mean that much in the bigger schemes. However, we still need to do our best and give it our all in those small moments. I'm definitely still learning when it comes to losing. In sport, I have this saying that a good loser is a constant loser. So I'm not a good loser.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, each for its own,
I
eh?
like the way that Winston Churchill frames it. He says, success is not final and failure is not fatal. So loss is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. I really like the way that he frames that. Is we're going to face wins and we're going to face losses in life in various aspects, in various forms, on different places. It's how we're going to learn to move through them, the wins and the losses. I believe you can win and you can move through that really poorly, or you can lose and move through that process really, really well. So I think it comes down to both things: is how do I handle my wins as well as how do I handle the losses.
Definitely.
So, what does it take then? In our last session, we spoke about legendary leaders in our last session. So, what does it then actually take to become a legendary leader? What is it going to take from you as a
Yeah, I
person?
would say it's somebody that learned from their losses and didn't make losing a habit.
That's legendary.
Yeah. Yeah, true, you know. I mean, as we grow older, and I mean, you know, lately a lot of people that I'm listening to that speaks about, you know, building a life of success, you know, they focus a lot on learning from losses, you know, where I was very big in the beginning on you don't lose, you have to win. You have to win always, all the time. So, but yeah, what is the mark of a legend? Yeah, it's probably somebody that has overcome those losses. Absolutely, you know, that has learned from that and that has embraced, you know, failure as part of the journey. You know, a legend is somebody that lives on in our memory forever. It's somebody that lifts up other people. I think, let's get back on track on leadership. For me, a legend in leadership is somebody that builds other people. He understands that it's not about him. As a leader, you can't be legendary if you don't have people around you that you've poured into, that you've built, that you've helped to establish and make them successful as well. Leadership is not a one-man race. It's not something that we become on our own. I think we spoke about Phil Jackson, the basketball coach. As a matter of fact, I was watching The Last Dance again last night of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And what's so amazing is that, when Michael Jordan, came back after, so he had the three championships that they won, and then he retired. He went to play baseball. He was away for about a year and a half, and he came back. And what was interesting, he says, when he came back, the only person that was left of the winning championship team that won the three in a row was Scottie Pippen. He says everybody else was brand new, but they had this like aura around them, like, we're a championship team. And he said to them, you didn't win the championship like we did, the guys that was part of the team. And so you still have to earn, your place in the championship team. And they weren't a championship team because they were losing, or they didn't win in those last 2 years. And so what he did is he had to build a mentality, and he had to set the standard and the bar, and he set it even higher for everybody else around him. And he said, this is, if you're going to play on my team, you're going to play by my standards. And so, think what you want to think about Michael Jordan. I mean, he was a tough guy. But what he did is he brought the best out of the people that played with him. Now, how he did it might not have been the way everybody else would do it, but if you look at his record speaks for himself. He took the team that was struggling and he took them to three more, championships in a row. So yeah, a leader and a legend in leadership is definitely somebody that can take somebody else, to the top. And not just to the top, but almost to play at their level and their dimension that they are
Mm.
at. Few people can do that. Few people can really do that. So yeah, I know that you've got a couple of legendary leaders in your life, but you also have a very good framework of what makes a legendary leader. What would you share with the audience?
I think a place to start with, if I can make it practical, how do you become a legendary leader? It's not all of it, but it's a starting point, because a lot of the times we struggle to start. And
Yeah.
I think what is part of a legendary leader is discipline and endurance. And you saw that with Michael Jordan, is discipline and endurance. And it's actually so simple to build discipline and endurance. So you can grab your pen and write this down. But I promise you, you can also remember this. The place where you start to build discipline and endurance is to start. You need to
Yeah.
start something. And once you've started something, you need to keep at it. And point two is normally where I lose most of the people, is to keep at it. And if you start something and now you're keeping at it, your next step would be is to get good at it. Because now you need to define and develop your skill at that thing that you've started in order to build the discipline and then the endurance for it. And then fourthly, what you need to do to build endurance and discipline is don't stop. Don't stop, because that's how you endure. Now, I
Yep.
know it's really that simple, but it's like if you can just follow that formula with the things within your life that's important to you, I promise you there's a lot of things in your life that you feel that it is impossible. One of the lies that you're telling yourself, that you actually will realize this is possible. And so you have to start something, you have to keep at it, then you have to get good at it, and then don't stop, because we're not always just good at something. We have to go through the process of getting good at it. And leaders is the same thing. You're not, I know we say that you are a born leader, but all, like John Maxwell says also, is that all leaders are born anyway. So you're not born and you're automatically a great leader. Some people have the traits to it, but they still have to develop it. They still have
Right.
to continuously grow in that and continuously develop that skill to become a legendary leader. And in our podcast, I spoke about the 5 words of grace for leaders: is intentionality, vision, relationships, resilience and consistency, and values. Those are the things that we need to embody as leaders so that we can grow as legendary leaders. I want to say that for me, what's important about legendary leaders is that they prioritize their team's growth as
Yeah.
much as their own. And therefore, when they are no longer there, they've built a legacy of trust and shared purpose. Trust and shared purpose, because now everybody else understands what you were building, a group of like minded people with strong principles, strong values that know what they stand for. And with that, you can leave something for others then to also build upon and become part of. I think legendary leaders have that ability to, without a lot of convincing, make people part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, I like that. You said it right in the beginning, where, a leader would obviously lead himself, but he would also expect his team, to grow in the area of leadership. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
leader makes himself, his leadership a priority, but also the people that he's leading is a priority in his life, to make them legends and legendary. How
Mm-hmm.
would you say that, we combine, vision and execution? How do we bring those two things together in the area of leadership?
I think get started, like I said earlier on, get started with it, get moving with it, stay, build that resilience, build that endurance, but also I've spoken about it previously, is to become self-aware, to build yourself, become self-aware, become self-aware. Let me say that again. And to help yourself to develop that self-efficacy in order for you to move through difficult times. And when you know who you are and where you are in the process, you can take that and bind that to your vision. Where am I going? But a lot of the times we know where we're going, but we don't know what it's going to take in order to get there. That is
Yeah.
why the process of self awareness and self efficacy and self development is so important, because that's where leadership development comes in with those three things. So that's how I would put together vision and execution: is get started, know who you are, know what you stand for, know where you're aiming at, know who you want to take with you, and also know who's already there.
Yeah, what I hear is integration, is I know
Absolutely.
you speak a lot about on as well, it's not about balance, but it's about integrating these things into one another. So those three aspects will absolutely help bring clarity,
Mm.
to what you want to achieve. Like you said, where do you want to go? I think sometimes we make it so intricate, but it's so simple, It's like, where do you want
Yeah.
to go? And then it's almost like the path will lead you there.
Mm.
Knowing what it is you want to do, it's going to take you there, Is it somebody said history leaves clues?
Mm.
Maybe the quote is right or wrong.
Success leave clues.
There we go. Success leave.
Exactly.
Um, you're gonna find it. Just know where you want to go, and then at
Yeah.
least it's gonna give you the path will open up as you go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
something that you've been reiterating a lot today is, get started, get going, just move, Is that saying that says nobody can or everybody can steer a parked car, but it takes a real race car driver to steer that car when it's going 100,
Yeah.
200 an hour, So
Mm.
definitely, get going on that.
When you
Any
asked me that question the first time, I wanted to give you my 3 points, and I thought that's too simple. But that's the whole point.
yeah, yeah,
My 3 points is get started, don't procrastinate, and get it done. And that's the thing, is that's how you're gonna execute, and how you bring vision and execution together. As you get started, you don't procrastinate, and you get it done. A lot of people stop in the middle, and that's why they feel that they just never reaching it, they're just never getting to it. So yeah, it's the simple things sometimes.
definitely. It's that slogan of Nike, just do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Just do it. Whatever it is, just do it.
Yeah.
Um, Once again, I think we have too much information these days. We calculate, everything to the T, where, years gone by, people just did it. They just started, they tried, failed, redid it, work on it, reframe it, just keep on going. Don't
Yeah.
stop, like you said, don't stop.
Yeah, exactly. And what would be some final advice that you would give to leaders looking to now transform their teams and themselves as we close off the series?
I would probably say this is something that I thought as you were speaking just now. The difference between a professional and an amateur in sport. So an amateur, they practice until they get it right. A professional practice until they don't get it wrong.
Mm,
And so I would
yeah.
encourage you to keep working at your craft in the area of leadership, whether it's empathy that you got to work on, whether it's creating clarity, whether it's carving out the vision, whatever that might be. I would encourage you to do it until you don't get it wrong. It becomes part of your life, it becomes synonymous with who you are, and leading becomes easy, or as we tend to say, leadership becomes natural to you.
Mm.
So yeah, that's my final thought.
I love that. That's so powerful. And I also always say that leadership starts with yourself. The transformation begins on the inside of you. So take this time, align your actions with your values, who you are as a person, and embrace now purpose-driven decisions. You know who you are, where you are, and where you want to go. So make sure that you now lead with clarity and authenticity. When you grow, your team will grow with you. And if you're a follower, then make sure that you keep up with your leader. Otherwise, your leader is going to outgrow you and is simply going to lead other people, and you are not going to be part of it. There's responsibilities for leaders and there's responsibilities for followers. And as you grow, make sure that you impart into others, that you grow others, so that when you do get to the top, you can not beat the status quo and not be alone, but maybe be there with a group of leaders to celebrate the wins. I want to say thank you, Christo, for this incredible series. It has touched many lives, and I believe it will transform many more to come as they listen and share the podcast. It was really a great time that we had together. Thank you for your insights, your wisdoms, and your input that you always give to us when you are joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. It was a great privilege. I really enjoyed our time together. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the work that you are doing, helping people to live intentional in their everyday life. So thank you, Dr. Janine. Really appreciate the time and look forward to the next time we're going to sit down.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I just want to remind you of Marketing Cosmetics has kicked off, and we've had our first session and it's just been incredible. The feedback is great. We have a new enrollment starting in July. So make sure to head on over to our website. I'll put the details in the podcast notes. If you're looking for some more marketing resources, be sure to subscribe to our 99 Rand a month subscription. It's really nothing, with weekly webinars that you get, as well as actionable help and insights when it comes to marketing and growing your business. And if you're looking for something more personal, then you can get in contact with me and we can look at a personal consulting or coaching session for you to help you to grow yourself and your business, your leadership, as well as your team. Thank you for your time today. If this resonated with you, please share it with somebody else that can also benefit from and grow from this material. Have a great day. Thank you for spending these intentional moments with us today. Join our intentionalist community for purposeful business, spiritual, and life experience. As an international author, business strategist, and life coach, I've discovered the power of living with intention. Through my series of books on intentionality, I've shared insights on how to blend passion, power, and purpose to craft a life that not only enriches you, but also elevates those around you. Remember, being intentional is your God-given right to live a successful, rewarding, and prosperous life.